One thing I noticed about the book as I'm going through it, you cite so many other atheists who have said things you really wanted to quote, and you mentioned them. What surprised me about that is most of them were not the new atheists. Like, there were women you were citing, there were people of color you were citing. I don't remember seeing that in those books that made headlines like 15 some years ago. I was wondering if that was like a deliberate choice, or if just we've gotten better at providing or at having those people speak out, and you're now giving them a platform through your work. I'm just wondering how you made sense of that, or if it was just something you did without thinking about it.
It did matter to me that I included other voices. Those are the big voices, absolutely. And I think I mentioned some, but it did matter to me. It really mattered to me. I loved The Atheist Muslim. I don't know if you've read that. Have you? It's Ali Rizvi. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic book. And so and I loved Sasha Sagan's book, For Small Creatures Such as We. Yeah, I guess I did want to.
It
Well,
sounds like it wasn't deliberate, though. I mean, they're just books that you care
yeah.
about, which is
I guess it was
awesome.
deliberate in the sense that, I know maybe I noticed it after I did it, but they were books that inspired me.
Yeah.
I mean, a big fan of Daniel Dennett, and he's in there quite a bunch, and Greg Epstein. I mean, they're names that you've heard of, but
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing,
I
though. Like,
tried to do it broadly.
I feel like when I've read other books by a lot of atheist men, I just didn't see that.
Right.
Uh, Certainly not deliberately, but also unconsciously. Like, those were not books that were on their radar. As opposed to in your case, when they seemed very much on the radar because of the way you cited them, because of how you brought them up. There's
Oh,
no
good.
question with that, but it
Well,
it did not escape my attention.
that's interesting. A lot of those books too are more in the genre of, here we're going to disprove religion, or here we're going to show all the terrible things that religion
You mean the
does.
new atheist books? Yeah, the
Those
old
15-year
school.
ago, the old
Yeah.
school books. So it's partly that that's not the kind of book that I wanted to write. So it would make sense that I wasn't quoting them
I want to
particularly.
shout that from the rooftops somewhere,
Yeah,
but no, that's such an important point that if you're talking about why you should lose faith in God, yeah, I can see why people might want to
exactly.
read those old school
Right.
books. If you want to talk about how to live your life as an atheist or what the best way to navigate certain challenges are,
Right.
there's no way I would recommend like Dawkins or something like that because he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
address it. But some of the people you mentioned there, yes, Greg, absolutely. Sasha talks about it in her books,
Mm-hmm.
but like trying to deal with how do you navigate through life? How do you deal with the challenges that we face day to day? How do you deal with kids? None of those guys
Right.
brought that up back in the day. But
Right.
so many awesome books have been written and they get a fraction of the press as those initial ones did.
Right.
And I wish more people knew about them.
Absolutely. I should make sure to, I mean, I'm glad they're in my book, but I also should make sure to bring them up a lot when I do, interviews, or when I'm posting things. Maybe I'll do a little TikTok.
There are some awesome questions coming in, which I will get
Oh,
to in
good.
just a second.
Great.
I do have one more to go to that point. One of the things you talk a lot about is the importance of holidays. And
Mm-hmm.
you wrote about how the atheists tend to celebrate religious holidays, and it's useful because otherwise things become a blur.
Yeah.
I think back to COVID when we were kind of shut in, locked in, couldn't go out anywhere. And I think one of the more frustrating things for me personally is not really having anything to look forward to because every day felt
Yeah.
very much the same. How how did you deal with holidays in your family? How are you dealing with that? Why do you think they are so important?
Holidays mark time, and that's absolutely, and they slow time down, and they, give you your brain a way to organize how you remember your life and how you look forward. I mean, that's kind of how the chapter begins, is with that strange erasure that happened with the lockdowns. Um, and that was really, I mean, I always knew that holidays were important to me, but it helped me think about it more, to feel that loss and that weird floaty thing where you're somewhere in time, but you have no idea where. Maybe you're not in time. Maybe time is gone altogether. So holidays are important for that. But I think they're also important, for celebrating what is great about our lives. And so the key to me was to find a holiday where I felt like I was celebrating something that I really did believe in. Um, and so,
What sort
uh,
of holidays have you all created in your family to mark
yeah,
those passages? Because there are no like religious rites of passage, so to speak, but there are other ways
right.
you have talked about celebrating things that happen in your family, traditions you can create and continue.
Sure. Sasha Sagan has a great chapter about this too. I we had different things that came and went. You know, we had Adventure Saturday, which is something that I did with the kids in the summer. My husband's a hay farmer, and so when the kids were little, it was really on me to get through the summer with small kids. And so we started to do this thing called Adventure Saturday, which was that every Saturday we would go and do something that none of us had ever done before. And
Oh, I like that. That's a
yeah,
fun idea.
no, it was great. And then what I loved about it in particular was that it gave um, me also a permission not to necessarily be the most active, most enriching mother on the Tuesday, because I because built in was this thing that I knew would be an experience for the kids. So I think that's part of what holidays do too, is sort of like, you have Yom Kippur, you have opportunities to sort of redeem yourself, and so and sort of building that uh structure into our lives was great. But that went away when the kids started being less annoying. And
They found their own
we
things to do.
right, that we had a schools out holiday every year where we would have French fries, only French fries for dinner, or French fries and nachos, just something
Nice.
very unhealthy. And I don't know. Then there was the big one, which was International Pizza Day, which is
Oh,
we started that. I think my oldest kid was maybe 4 or 5, and it's still going. He's
nice.
23. So
That's great.
yeah,
And
International
again,
Pizza
once
Day.
once you have those things that you could celebrate, all of a sudden all the reasons people might go to church during like Easter and Christmas, it's like they're not as important anymore because I have
Yeah,
plenty of things that I look forward to with my family.
it's true. I mean, there is one missing thing with International Pizza Day, a great holiday though
What?
it is, and that is that it only, it's not something that everybody in the community is celebrating.
Right.
You lack that sense of connection to other people, which I think the major holidays, even that you don't believe in, even Christmas, even as growing up as a Jewish kid, or gave you this sense of like
Right.
everybody's doing something Christmas related, even if it's just complaining about Christmas. It's sort of
I
like on everyone's radar. And that is a thing that I think that's the problem. And I think atheists, or people who've left organized religion, have that problem. You can make up stuff in your family, and it is a wonderful thing to do. It's a creative thing to do, and it's a beautiful thing to do. And it can be much more like intellectually and emotionally rewarding than just going through the motions of other holidays. But there is a loneliness to it. Or maybe a sense of isolation, you from the world at large, and maybe the more people who self-identify as atheists, maybe there'll be a way of building community through that.
Yeah, there is. I have found that the most joy I get from those type of communal activities, I mean, if it's sports, if that's your thing,
Right.
like
Yeah.
right now, the Chicago Cubs, they're doing well, maybe,
Mhm.
we'll see. But like when they are good, I feel
Right.
like everyone in my circles gets excited about it at the same time. We're all talking about it. That's all well and good. Same thing of any concert you're at. You're surrounded by
You're
people who
right.
are into it. I mean, they call it a religious experience for a reason. And even as
Agreed.
someone who is on social media way too much, like there's nothing more fun than when everyone is talking about the same stupid thing and everyone's cracking jokes or mocking
You mean
something
even
that
on
just
social
exists,
media?
especially on social media.
Yeah, no,
Because
I totally agree.
now I'm on the same wavelength as total
Right,
strangers,
right.
and it's exciting and it's fun and it's what I wish social media was more
Mhm.
often. But that's the thing, like when you're part of a religion, you can have that like every week
Right.
basically, and you are surrounded by people who are into this thing that maybe
Mhm.
not everyone is, but a lot of your people are. And you might lose that if you leave religion, but there are ways to make up for it. I hope people can find that in other
Ways
ways.
to make up for it, or like you say, in terms of sports, ways to recognize that you do have it. You do
Yeah.
have it in other
You're
places.
not leaving that away altogether by
Right,
walking
you
away
know,
from
and
religion.
exactly, and maybe you could, take more steps to be a part of those communities,
Yeah.
or,
Or whatever the
so yeah,
hobby is,
or whatever
whatever
the hobby
your
is.
hobby is.
Yes.
Exactly.